For our audio listeners, this podcast is available in a video format and was recorded on location. If you're interested in the video version, you can find a link to that in the show notes. And on that note, please excuse the background noise during Aaron's interview. We tried our best, but at the end of the day, there wasn't a ton we could do about it. Now, if you follow us on social media, I'm sure you're well aware of the various takes on the closure of the Craig 1 coal power plant. WRA and others have been quite vocal on this issue.
In a legally dubious 202C order, the federal government forced the broken, dirty, and unreliable coal power plant to stay open past its planned closure. The craziest part? This plant is currently broken and would need to be fixed to even run, costing millions of dollars. It's the latest in the confusing effort from the administration to keep coal power plants online, despite the abundance of evidence that there are more reliable, efficient, and cleaner options for the West. The main utility that operated Craig 1, Tri-State, have been planning for its closure for over 10 years, in large part due to its emissions and effects on the local environment, places like Rocky Mountain National Park. You may already know all that. We did a podcast, many social media posts, and an action, more on that in a second, where you can go tell your state leadership to close coal power plants in your state. For some reason, many people seem inclined to defend coal, despite the abundance of evidence that coal is one of the worst energy sources for the West. Regularly, our home suffers from some of the worst air pollution in the country. Salt Lake City, Denver, Reno, Phoenix, they all suffer from some of the worst particle and ozone pollution in the country. These pollutants are linked to cancer, lung disease, asthma, and a wide variety of other serious health concerns. Getting rid of coal is imperative if we want to protect our health in the West. And you're right, I'm not an expert. I'm just a lovely social media manager and podcast host. So, I went and found an expert and asked her to debunk some of our pro-coal comments from our social media pages. Welcome to 2 Degrees Out West, a podcast for advocates and decision makers seeking solutions to climate change and its impacts across the West. On 2 Degrees Out West, we talk with climate experts to bring you the stories and expertise relevant to their work to protect the place that we call home. On today's exciting new video version of 2 Degrees Out West, debunking coal with a clean energy expert. Tell me who you are and what you do.
Okay, my name is Erin Overturf, and I'm the Clean Energy Director at Western Resource Advocates.
Meet Erin Overturf, podcast MVP and clean energy expert. I'll let Erin take it from here.
Clean coal is the most economical form of electric generation on the planet and also the most environmentally safe. Well, what's clean coal, really? It's not a thing. On the topic of the economics of coal, according to Lazard, which is the industry standard analysis, coal generation has an average levelized cost of energy of about $122 per megawatt hour. In comparison, onshore wind is more like $62 a megawatt hour, and solar plus storage is around $91 per megawatt hour. When we're thinking about this specifically in the context of the Craig 1 unit, it's important to note that the fuel, operations, and maintenance costs necessary to extend the life of that plant are estimated to run as high as $85 million a year. So, coal plants, I think that's supposed to be coal plants, especially in that area, are highly reliable. You have no idea what you're talking about. Have fun putting solar up in the Rocky Mountains, crying, laughing emoji. So completely separate from the Trump administration's order, Unit 1 was actually already broken down at the time that order came out. There was a mechanical failure of a valve. So that just goes to show you that coal plants do break down like just about anything else. Another example is Xcel's Comanche 3 coal plant that's located in Pueblo, Colorado. That's been plagued with breakdowns and operating problems since the 750 megawatt plant came online in 2010. It's actually been shut down for more than 900 days of its total lifetime. And by the way, Colorado has over 4,800 megawatts of installed solar capacity. It provides around 12% of our overall energy consumption and over 8,000 jobs. American coal is clean. Again, what do you mean by clean? Burning coal to generate electricity produces sulfur dioxide, which contributes to acid rain and respiratory illness, nitrogen oxides, which contribute to smog and respiratory illness, particulates, which contribute to smog, haze, lung disease, respiratory illness, carbon dioxide, which causes climate change, mercury and other heavy metals, which have been linked to both neurological and developmental problems in humans and animals. And it generates fly ash and bottom ash, which then can leach pollution into groundwater and aquifers. In 2022, carbon dioxide emissions from burning coal for electricity accounted for about 19% of total US energy-related carbon dioxide emissions, and about 55% of total carbon dioxide emissions from the power sector. So again, what do you mean by clean? 70% of power in Colorado is derived by coal, genius. This literally hasn't been true for over a decade. Coal-fired power plants accounted for just 27% of Colorado's total in-state electricity generation in 2024. We need the energy it provides. We don't have the infrastructure or transmission lines to provide an alternative. Nope, that's not true. The utility and state regulators have been planning for this retirement since 2016, including acquiring replacement generation and all the other necessary grid infrastructure. In fact, in 2025, after a year-long litigated resource planning process in front of the Colorado Public Utilities Commission, that regulator determined that Craig 1 was not required for reliability or resource adequacy purposes, and found that Tri-State convincingly concluded that its electric system would meet all relevant reliability metrics, even without the unit's operation. Solar and wind are totally unreliable unless someone is going to blow on the wind turbines and carry a flashlight 24 hours a day. Okay, so energy reliability is a system attribute, not about an individual resource. By developing a diverse energy grid that pairs low-cost intermittent renewables like wind and solar with clean firming resources like energy storage and geothermal, we can absolutely meet our energy needs without coal.
What are some of the ways that's been done in Colorado?
So in Colorado, one of the things that we've seen is a rapid expansion of the use of energy storage technologies like batteries. So when you're pairing an intermittent resource like solar with a battery storage system, that means that you use the electricity that's being generated by the solar panels at the time when it's being generated. But let's say you don't need all that power at that specific moment. You put it into the battery so that you can save it and then use it later on in the evening when the sun's not shining. Contrary to what you hear on the internet, everybody knows that the wind doesn't always blow and that the sun doesn't always shine. And that's why we've been creating an energy system that can be reliable, even given that fact.
So if people are worried about reliability, is there any time when there wouldn't be anything generating energy on the grid?
Every time that you're doing a system plan, you're always thinking about that overall system reliability. So absolutely, if you had a grid that was nothing but solar, it wouldn't work. You need to have a diversity of resources. So you need solar, you need wind, you need storage, you need clean firm technologies like geothermal or emerging long duration storage opportunities. You might have some gas that you're using at a very low capacity factor to balance out when the needs on the grid exist. You need to look at reliability from a system perspective. It's not about an individual resource. Those resources acting together as the holistic integrated energy system, which flows and moves electricity across state lines all the time, that's what creates reliability. Coal is the most expensive, highest emitting option we can possibly have. There are so many other alternatives that we can use to power a cleaner, green electricity grid. Tell me your plan for developing firm power when it closes down? Question mark, question mark, question mark. There is no good, cheap, reliable power generation available now. Companies can store 6 months worth of coal. That's the best energy storage on the planet. Well, WRA didn't have to come up with the plan because actually the utility already did. In 2025, after a year-long litigated resource planning process, the Colorado Public Utilities Commission determined that Craig 1 is not required for reliability or resource adequacy purposes. And it found that Tri-State convincingly concludes that its electric system will meet all relevant reliability metrics, even without Craig 1 on the system. In fact, Tri-State planned for the retirement of Craig 1 in every portfolio that it modeled and concluded that it would have excess capacity on its electric system through 2030. So the idea that we're shutting down this coal plant without a plan, willy-nilly, it's just not true. We've been planning for this for almost a decade. They are privately owned, not government. So there's that too. So it's true, Tri-State is a wholesale generation and transmission cooperative. So it's actually made up of its members. And the federal government is forcing this generation and transmission cooperative to take actions that are unnecessary and bad for their members, bad for their ratepayers. The owners of Craig 1 are even arguing that the Trump administration has violated their constitutional rights when it ordered them to continue running the Craig 1 plant. In a request for rehearing challenging the federal order, the utilities argued that by mandating the generator's continued availability to operate, the order constitutes both a physical taking and a regulatory taking of property by the government without just compensation or due process, in violation of the Fifth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution and federal law. I guess what I would just say is that there's a lot of really complex and technical issues related to the energy transition. But retiring coal just isn't one of them. It's really a no-brainer. Again, many of these plants are incredibly old, they're unreliable, they're expensive to operate, they're very highly emitting. Of all the challenges that we have in moving to a clean energy future, retiring coal is such a no-brainer.
Beautiful cut, that's great. There you have it. It's time to move on from coal. Communities want to, utilities want to, states want to. It's only this backwards-looking administration that wants to make coal a reality when the fact is it's long gone. The good news is that we're currently in the 2026 legislative session in both Colorado and all over the West. WRA has experts in the state legislative houses going and advocating for clean energy policies that are sensible and address the problems that we're seeing with air pollution in the West. If you want to take action to get rid of coal, wherever you are, in Colorado or elsewhere, click the link in our bio to tell your state leadership to kick coal to the curb. And if you want to know more specifics about that Craig 1 situation, you can find an explainer podcast linked in the show notes featuring Aaron, where we explain it in a little bit more detail. And sidebar, did you like this format? Let us know. If you want to find more ways to support our work, you can sign up for our email list, or better yet, become one of our donors and directly support our work to protect the West.
Lastly, we'd like to thank our sponsors who enable our work in the West. Our champion sponsor is First Bank. Our signature sponsors are Denver Water, Torch Clean Energy, Scarpa, GoCo, and Southwest Energy Efficiency Project. Our supporting partners are BSW Wealth Partners, Meridian Public Affairs, Group 14 Engineering, and Kind Design. Thank you for listening.